The text message glowed on Marcus Johnson's phone at 2:17 a.m. "Dad, can you come get me? He locked the door and I'm scared." In that moment, everything changed. What Marcus did next would not only save his daughter but redefine what it means to be a father when the world expects you to fail. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more real stories about the challenges and triumphs of modern parenting. Your support helps us share these important messages with others who might need to hear them. Marcus Johnson stared at his phone, his heart pounding against his ribs. The message from his 16-year-old daughter Zoe glared back at him, each word like a knife. "Dad, can you come get me? He locked the door and I'm scared." He read it again, trying to process what was happening. Zoe was supposed to be at her friend Amber's house for a study session. That's what she'd told him when she left their apartment earlier that evening, backpack slung over one shoulder, promising to be home by 11. It was now 2:17 a.m. Marcus had fallen asleep on the couch waiting for her, his work uniform still on after a 12-hour shift at the hospital where he worked as a custodian. The phone had slipped from his fingers as exhaustion claimed him, only to wake him with its urgent vibration. Without hesitation, he texted back, "Where are you? I'm coming right now." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. Tyler's house. 1422 Oakwood Drive. Please hurry. Tyler. The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Tyler Reeves was a senior, 2 years older than Zoe, with a reputation that made Marcus's skin crawl. He'd forbidden Zoe from seeing him months ago after hearing rumors about his behavior with girls, but lately, he'd sensed a distance growing between them. Now he knew why. Marcus grabbed his keys and wallet, not bothering to change out of his uniform. The night was cold, and rain pelted the windshield of his aging Honda as he navigated the empty streets of their small town. His mind raced with terrible possibilities. What had this boy done? Was Zoe hurt? The thought made his hands grip the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The GPS led him to an upscale neighborhood across town, where houses sat back from the street behind manicured lawns. Number 1422 was a large 2-story with a BMW in the driveway. Marcus pulled up to the curb and texted Zoe, "I'm outside." No response. He tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Marcus approached the house, rain soaking through his thin uniform jacket. The downstairs was dark, but he could see a light on upstairs. He rang the doorbell, then knocked firmly. Nothing. He circled around to the back of the house, where a patio door led to a kitchen. Through the glass, he could see empty beer bottles scattered across a granite countertop. Music thumped faintly from upstairs. Marcus tried the door. Locked. He looked around desperately, then spotted a garden stone. Without hesitation, he wrapped his jacket around his hand, picked up the stone, and smashed the glass beside the door handle. The sound of breaking glass seemed deafening in the quiet neighborhood, but Marcus didn't care. His daughter needed him. He reached through, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. "Zoe," he called out, moving quickly through the kitchen toward the stairs. "Zoe, it's Dad." The music grew louder as he climbed the stairs. At the top, a hallway stretched in both directions. "Zoe," he called again. A door at the end of the hall opened, and a young man stepped out, shirtless and angry. Tyler Reeves. "What the hell, man? You can't just break into my house." Marcus moved toward him with purpose. "Where's my daughter?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Tyler said, but his eyes darted to a closed door behind him. Marcus pushed past him, ignoring the boy's protests. The door was locked. He could hear muffled crying from inside. "Zoe? Baby, are you in there?" "Dad." Her voice was thick with tears. "He took my phone and locked me in. I'm scared." Marcus turned to Tyler, who had backed away, suddenly looking less confident. "Open this door. Now. Look, man, we were just hanging out. She wanted to come over. It's not what you think." Marcus didn't wait for him to finish. With a strength born of fear and fury, he slammed his shoulder against the door. The frame splintered on the second try, and he burst into the room. Zoe sat huddled on the bed, mascara streaking her tear-stained face. She wore only a t-shirt and shorts, her arms wrapped protectively around herself. When she saw Marcus, she broke down completely. "Daddy," she sobbed, rushing into his arms. Marcus held her tight, relief washing over him. "Are you hurt? Did he hurt you?" She shook her head against his chest. "No, but he wouldn't let me leave. He took my phone when I said I wanted to go home. I was so scared." Marcus looked over her head at Tyler, who stood in the doorway, a mix of defiance and fear on his face. "Where are your parents?" Marcus demanded. "Out of town," Tyler muttered. "Business trip." Marcus wanted nothing more than to make this boy understand the terror he'd caused, to feel some fraction of the fear Zoe had felt locked in that room. But his daughter trembled in his arms, and he knew what mattered most. "Get her things," he told Tyler, his voice dangerously calm. "Now." Tyler disappeared and returned moments later with Zoe's backpack and phone. Marcus took them without a word, then guided Zoe down the stairs and out to the car, shielding her from the rain with his jacket. Once they were inside the car, doors locked, Marcus finally allowed himself to breathe. Zoe sat beside him, small and vulnerable in ways that broke his heart. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered. "I lied to you. I've been seeing him for weeks." Marcus started the engine but didn't drive yet. "Why, Zoe? Why him? Why lie to me?" She stared at her hands. "He was different at first. Nice. Made me feel special. Then tonight, he started drinking with his friends. They left, and he changed. Got aggressive. When I said I wanted to leave, he got mad. Took my phone. I was so scared he'd..." Her voice broke. Marcus reached across and took her hand. "I'm here now. You're safe." "How did you know where to find me?" she asked. "You texted me, remember?" Confusion crossed her face. "No, he took my phone as soon as I said I wanted to leave." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He pulled out his phone and showed her the message, "Dad, can you come get me? He locked the door and I'm scared." Zoe's eyes widened. "I didn't send that. I couldn't." They looked at each other, realization dawning. Someone else had sent that message. Someone who knew Zoe was in trouble. "Check your recent texts," Marcus said. Zoe unlocked her phone with shaking fingers and navigated to her messages. There it was, a text to her father, sent at 2:17 a.m., with the exact words Marcus had received. But Zoe hadn't sent it. "It was Amber," Zoe said suddenly. "I texted her earlier when things started getting weird. I told her where I was and that I was getting scared. She must have somehow sent that text from my account." Marcus made a mental note to thank Amber, and her parents, profusely. That girl had potentially saved his daughter from a terrible situation. As they drove home through the rain-slicked streets, Marcus struggled with a storm of emotions: relief that Zoe was safe, anger at Tyler, disappointment that Zoe had lied to him, and guilt that he hadn't known what was happening in her life. "I failed you," he said quietly. "I should have known something was wrong." Zoe looked over at him, surprised. "You didn't fail me, Dad. You came for me. You always come for me." Those simple words hit Marcus hard. Since Zoe's mother had walked out on them when Zoe was just 7, it had been the two of them against the world. He'd worked multiple jobs, moved them to better neighborhoods, attended every parent-teacher conference and dance recital. He'd done everything he could to be both mother and father to her. But lately, as she'd grown into a teenager with her own life and secrets, he'd felt her slipping away. "I'm always going to come for you," he said. "No matter what. But Zoe, you have to be honest with me. I can't protect you if I don't know what's happening." She nodded, wiping away fresh tears. "I know. I thought you wouldn't understand. That you'd just say no without listening. Is that really what you think of me?" The question hurt to ask. Zoe was quiet for a moment. "No," she finally said. "That's not fair. You've always listened. I wanted to make my own decisions. Even if they were bad ones." They pulled into the parking lot of their apartment complex as the first light of dawn began to break through the clouds. The rain had stopped, leaving everything with a clean, washed feeling. "Let's make a deal," Marcus said as he turned off the engine. "I'll try to remember that you're growing up and need to make your own choices. But you have to promise to be honest with me, even when you think I won't like what you have to say. Especially then." Zoe looked at him, really looked at him, perhaps seeing for the first time the worry lines that had deepened around his eyes, the gray that had begun to thread through his close-cropped hair. "Deal," she said. The next few weeks were difficult. Marcus filed a police report about the incident, despite pressure from Tyler's well-connected parents to let it go. Zoe had to deal with rumors and whispers at school, as word spread about what had happened. But something had changed between father and daughter. The distance that had been growing between them began to close. They started having dinner together every night, no phones allowed. Zoe opened up about her struggles at school, her insecurities, her dreams for the future. Marcus shared stories about her mother that he'd kept to himself for years, helping Zoe understand the woman who had left them both. One evening, as they washed dishes side by side, Zoe asked, "Do you ever regret it? Being a single dad? Having to do everything alone?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "There have been hard days," he admitted. "Days when I didn't know if I was doing anything right. Days when I was so tired I could barely stand. But regret raising you? Never. Not for a single moment." Zoe leaned her head against his shoulder. "I want to be like you when I grow up." Marcus laughed softly. "You can aim higher than being a hospital custodian." She shook her head. "That's not what I mean. I want to be someone who shows up. Someone who breaks down doors when people need them. Someone who keeps their promises." Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion. "You already are, baby girl. You already are." 6 months later, Marcus sat in the audience of the school auditorium, watching Zoe stand at the podium. She had been asked to give a speech at a community event about teen safety and healthy relationships, organized in part as a response to what had happened with Tyler. "My story could have ended very differently," Zoe said, her voice strong and clear. "Statistics show that young women in situations like mine often don't get help in time. But I was lucky. I had someone who came for me when I needed them most." She looked directly at Marcus as she continued. "My father taught me what love really looks like. It's not about control or fear or making someone feel small. It's about respect. It's about showing up, even at 2 a.m. in the pouring rain. It's about breaking down doors, literal and figurative ones, to reach someone who's hurting." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes as Zoe's words washed over him. Around him, other parents nodded in recognition and agreement. "We talk a lot about what's wrong with families today," Zoe continued. "About absent fathers and broken homes. And those are real problems. But we don't talk enough about the parents who stay. Who sacrifice. Who love fiercely and protect relentlessly. My dad is one of those parents, and I know there are many others out there like him." After the event, as they walked to the car, Zoe's phone buzzed with a notification. She looked at it and smiled. "What is it?" Marcus asked. Amber just texted. She got accepted to State University. Full scholarship. Marcus smiled. He and Zoe had grown close to Amber and her family in the months since the incident. Amber's quick thinking had potentially saved Zoe from a terrible situation, and the two girls had become inseparable. We should celebrate, he said. Invite her and her parents over for dinner this weekend. Zoe nodded, then hesitated. Dad? I've been thinking about college too. Marcus felt a familiar pang. Zoe was a junior now. In just over a year, she'd be leaving for college. The thought both filled him with pride and terrified him. I want to study social work, she continued. I want to help kids who don't have someone to come get them when they're scared. Marcus pulled her into a hug, right there in the parking lot. You're going to change lives, he said. 2 years later, Marcus helped Zoe move into her dorm room at State University, where she and Amber would be roommates. As they unpacked boxes and arranged furniture, Zoe's phone rang. She answered, listened for a moment, then handed it to Marcus. It's for you, she said, a mysterious smile on her face. The voice on the other end belonged to Dr. Elaine Carter, the Dean of Student Affairs at the university. Mr. Johnson? I wanted to personally thank you for the Marcus Johnson Emergency Response Scholarship your daughter established. The story she shared about how you came to her rescue that night has inspired our entire campus community. Marcus looked at Zoe in confusion. She hadn't mentioned any scholarship. Dr. Carter continued, the scholarship will provide emergency funds for students in crisis situations, everything from temporary housing to transportation home. Zoe used the settlement money from the Reeves family to establish it. She insisted it be named after you. After the call ended, Marcus turned to Zoe, speechless. You always taught me that when bad things happen, we have a choice, she explained. We can let them define us, or we can use them to make something good. This scholarship will help make sure other students have someone who comes for them when they need it most. Marcus looked at his daughter, this remarkable young woman he'd raised, and felt a pride so deep it was almost painful. Your mother would be so proud of you, he said. Zoe smiled. I had a good teacher. The best. As Marcus drove home that evening to an empty apartment, he reflected on the journey that had brought them here. That terrifying night when he'd received Zoe's text message had changed everything. It had shown them both what truly mattered. It had taught them that sometimes, love means breaking down doors. And it had reminded them that in a world full of uncertainty, there was one thing Zoe could always count on: her father would come for her. Always. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories about the unsung heroes in our communities, the parents who show up every day, who break down doors when necessary, who redefine what family means through their unwavering love and commitment. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most powerful words in the world are simply, I'm coming right now.